I think we are live.
I think we're live.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Hi, the SIP committee and everybody that is joining in. Today, as you can see, we are missing Jorge. He is in vacation, let's say. So,
That's right.
So I will be leading this weekend with a big help from Sebastian. And as you could see on the contributors post and YouTube, right now in the YouTube comments, there is an agenda. And the first part is highlights from the November meetings that happened in 1st through 3rd November, where we had most of the committee together face-to-face here at EPFL, and it was really wonderful, and a lot of things got spoken about, and there's more to do now after the meeting. So, couple of highlights. It's okay. Couple of highlights. So the SIP committee agreed more or less on the next steps, how to face these big changes that are coming our way. And one of the biggest points was selecting the features that are going to be called the core features from the ones that are non-core and then essential. All these lists and categorizations are going to be in the minutes, so don't panic. Don't take the notes; it will all come your way. The idea behind categorizing it in those three categories is that this is not a very typical SIP proposal. It's not one feature change. It's a bunch of them. And we need to, or the SIP committee needs to swim somehow through those changes, given the timeline, which was the second highlight, that it's clear now that the feature freeze should be next year, mid next year, and the release mid the following, so 2020. And so yeah, so we have the agreement about next steps, the agreement about categorizing the features, the timeline is set. And going forward, we are going to keep the process as so far, which goes, we would have a batch for discussion for a month, then summaries. From summaries, we would have action points from their numbering and voting per feature. Other highlights are that SIP committee also agreed about its role and collaborating with Scala Center in getting all these community comments together so we can join the forces and get this move forward. So those are, I think, the highlights from the SIP committee in November. And again, more information is going to come on and be in the minutes of the SIPs. So if there is anything you would like to add about November meetings, please say it now, or otherwise we're going to go to the second point. Once.
Good.
Good.
I think it's fine.
Yeah. Everybody good? Seems?
Yeah, they don't seem to react. So,
so the second point is voting for those core features, and it would be. So,
do you want me to recap a little bit? What are the core features?
Yeah. Please take the lead for the point 2.
So, as you know, of course, for SIPs, we typically have individual things that are very, very separate, very identifiable in their own context. So typically, we vote on and we discuss each SIP separately. But here we also have an entire new version of the language, and we realized that some of the things we can't really discuss in isolation from some other things, because they really form the core, the essence of what Scala 3 is compared to Scala 2. So at the November meeting, we took some time to identify which of the new features and changes that you can see on the DOTI documentation really forms the core of what Scala 3 is and what makes Scala 3 the 3 version, as opposed to more orthogonal features that we can more easily discuss separately. To give a few examples, in the core, we have things like intersection and union types. We have trait parameters and a few other things. In non-core, we have things like enums and the new volatile lazy vowels encodings, things like this. Structural types also. So there's a relatively long list. And what we would like to officialize today and hopefully have a vote is the set of what constitutes the core, and also a basically an acceptance that the core is accepted, not, I won't say as is, but that we vote that we accept on principle that set of features, even though we will still have the opportunity to iron out the details, the formulation, maybe some fine tuning, but that we will accept on principle those features as a block that constitutes basically Scala 3 as a version. And then for the other changes, they will follow the more normal process of being individually reviewed, accepted, and or rejected, or blah, blah. Any questions? Nope. Then I think we should list the exact set somewhere. Do you have it?
It's in the chat overview.
Just arrange it by icon.
Icon.
All right, then
Okay.
we have core.
There we go.
Okay, so let me voice the list of core features. It's that long? Wow.
A bunch of them are removals. So.
There. Oh yeah, okay. So we have removal of early initializers, which goes together with addition of trait parameters. Then we have, as I said before, intersection and union types. We have a couple things, a couple function types. So the addition of implicit function types and dependent function types. And there was also some discussion of the feasibility of polymorphic function types. Then we have drop weak conformance as a general mechanism. We have the addition of type lambdas. We have some small tweaks in type checking and type inference. Then and implicit resolution, which goes all together. A few changes in pattern matching, namely the fact that they're named based by nature, and a couple other related stuff. Mm-hmm. Existential types are dropped. Type projection in general is dropped. Only a very small use cases for Java interrupts I kept. Class shadowing is dropped. So that's when you have an inner class C that shadows an inherited inner class that's also called C. That's not allowed anymore. And that's it.
I think we have trait parameters twice in
the list. Yeah, trait parameters is twice in the list. That's fine.
Okay. I'll remove it.
So what my proposal for so someone online asked, from where can we get the list of features? That's actually a good question. We wanted to have it.
We have it. It's already integrated in the minutes from November's meeting, which is right now in a PR state. So it should be up either today or tomorrow.
And PR on which repo?
In sorry, for the SIP minutes, which is on Scala doc. Scala
lang. So you can so you can find.
I think it's 1211.
The most recent open PR in the doc Scala lang repo has a link.
I think it's on the bottom of the document with other important ones.
Okay. Other questions? Okay. Since we haven't had, oh yeah, no, they're still online. I can see their faces moving. I was just checking connection. So what I proposed a few hours ago when we set up the agenda was, I think it would be good to formally vote on this today if the committee finds that acceptable. I mean, we discussed it quite at length during our November meeting, but I thought it would be good to have an on-record vote for this.
Okay, let's vote.
So what's the motion exactly?
So the motion is this set of features I have just read constitutes the core for Scala 3, and we accept on principle all those features with the understanding that fine-tuning is still possible.
Yeah, okay.
Seb, what say you?
A second.
Wait, I'm just waiting. First, is there anyone who in the committee who's opposed to even voting on this right now? So we have a thumbs up from Adrian. And
it's just a photo.
Why should we be opposed to?
I'm
really more because it's public right now, and we're bringing up things that need to be on the record.
Okay, so I vote in favor. Do we need to see if we have a quorum or what? Oh, how does this go?
We have the quorum.
Okay.
And we will ask by email for the rest of the votes.
I
so
see.
we will have all the votes who voted
just
in which favor.
case.
Yes.
Yeah. So we have a yes from Julian.
A yes from me.
Yes from Miles.
Seth. Thumbs up. Okay.
Yes, here too.
Yes
Guillaume.
from Seth.
Yes.
Yes. Seb, yes. Martin,
Yes from me.
Adrian already said yes.
Adrian said yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Then that is everyone from here. I mean, even if the three others would vote no, that would still be more than 2/3. So yeah, basically we can consider this accepted, even though for the record we'll take the votes of the other ones.
Yeah. Sure.
Speaking of the record, dear viewers, watchers, we welcomed Guillaume Martin.
True, we didn't say that on air.
So the only thing that happened during the November meetings, which were face-to-face and not recorded, so I underline no decisions were made. We are going to make all decisions on the record, except that there was a voting for the new member, which anyway usually is something that goes
It's always
behind the
private.
scene.
So Guillaume Martre has he's welcomed to the SIP committee by unanimous votes from all the existing members. So, congrats.
Cool. So that is done. Now the third, or I don't know anymore if it's the third or the second because I don't have it in front of me. My computer is in use. So it would be to vote on XML literals and procedure syntax. The fact is that we spoke about it. So about XML, we spoke about it in 3 meetings, and on procedure syntax in 2 meetings. So
we've had very long threads on contributors.
Yes, and summaries and discussions about summaries, and there were a couple of action points, especially for the procedure syntax. Josh is not now not here with us, he would know exactly what, and I don't have it in front of me. So it is, we could go forward and vote on those two. But we need to ask the SIP committee if you feel like it's the time to vote, or do we need more time to discuss things and go over them?
So to vote on what exactly, the removal of
So
the feature?
removal of procedure syntax, removal of XML literals.
With the understanding that it's actually like deprecated in Scala 3 and not actually removed. Or...
Well,
So the status would be, I believe that it would be deprecated in 3.0 and removed in 3.1.
Yeah.
For both of them.
that's probably the best thing.
Yeah.
So should we vote on that?
Deprecating, is that a vote that we can have?
Don't deprecate.
No, we
Yeah.
we deprecate
I mean,
for the removal in 3.1,
3.0.
basically.
Yeah.
In
The
removal in 3.1.
3.1.
That's what we're voting on.
Yeah.
And then
Okay. There is a
if
step.
that is accepted, then
Then
we would of course deprecate
Deprecate
it
it
as early as possible given
Okay.
constraints, but that's not really our we typically don't vote on the timing of deprecations.
Okay.
That's more like a practical concern.
Right.
That's
Okay.
Okay, which one should we do first?
XML.
XML?
Your favorite.
my favorites.
Let's get through that one.
Okay.
That's the harder one first.
So on principle, I'm going to vote no to represent. I mean,
To
because
deprecating it, to
remove it.
in 3.1?
Yes.
So I am voting against the removal of XML literals to defend the interest of the Scala.js community.
Very honorable. Martin,
Yeah,
I guess you would say yes.
I'm gonna vote yes. Yeah.
Okay. Adrian, it's your turn. Take your time.
Yeah, just building up the suspense, looking for the unmute button. Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one. Yeah, I think I have to vote against removal as well. I think there's too much code out there. I mean, I sympathize with the argument in favor of removing, but I think in practice, it's we don't have good visibility in how much people use it. The community build doesn't really tell us about that, and I think in some form or another, we need to keep supporting it. Unfortunately.
Thank you. This is really intense. This is
Very
intense.
now.
Okay. Julian, you had some, or Miles, yes, please.
I was basically going to say that on reflection, I think I have to kind of abstain on this. I think that I think it's not possible to remove it without some kind of an acceptable replacement. I think we haven't got to that point yet. So I think in the meantime, I'm not opposed in principle to removal, and I absolutely see the arguments in favor of doing that. But I think without a replacement, it's going to make the migration story too difficult.
I agree with that. Yeah. So one question is whether we should wait for this to materialize or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we can say we
need to go on with the votes and then see how it turns out. More people.
So maybe my vote is also to remove, provided there is an acceptable migration path, at least for the JSX style of XML literals, which I think does not involve pattern matching on XML literals. So maybe this tells us that maybe we're not at the point where we can actually vote on this yet.
It doesn't seem we are, but I think that the fact that we said let's vote on it started actually bringing up some arguments that make more actionable direction than the last 3 months. We were discussing it in circles. So I would like to hear others, and then because we have one no because he's honorable and another no because
Well, I didn't know. Mine was a no
yes.
because I didn't know I had conditional no's.
Sorry.
If I can have a conditional vote, I'll vote the same way as Julian. I'm not, as I mean, I said
We start
verbally.
voting,
Okay.
assuming you have a JSX replacement, using interpolator.
I think that's premature.
Premature.
We should see whether we have a replacement first before we can vote on that.
Yeah.
We shouldn't vote on hypotheticals.
Okay. But I would
But
still
then we
like,
can-
sorry.
So so we can have a vote now to say unconditional removal, and we can bring it up again and say, well, now we have a replacement. Let's table it again if that replacement is there. I would say. Yeah. So I'm still for unconditional removal, but yeah.
Others are not for unconditional removal.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put a little star, but I'm going to put you as minus. Okay. I mean, no, star. Okay. Sorry.
I think now it's unclear what we're doing.
No, it's okay. So I'm going to resume.
Okay.
We are voting right now for unconditional removal
in 3.1.
Okay.
in 3.1. Yes. And then in the meantime, if there is a replacement, we can revisit the vote.
Yeah.
Right now it's unconditional.
Assuming it's-
Yes. So today we don't have a replacement. Do we want to remove it as of now?
Right.
Okay.
So we have no, yes.
I mean,
basically,
if I vote no, then I mean that I would, of course, we would be under the obligation to produce a replacement, but I would vote for removal no matter what. We will do our best effort to do a replacement, of course. But, Okay.
Seth, what say you?
I agree with the others, which is that I'm in favor in principle. However you want to handle that in terms of a vote is fine. I agree that there's more work to do before we can be confident that this can actually go forward.
Okay. Thank you. And then Guillaume.
I'd be for unconditional removal in 3.1.
Okay, now we know where you're a part of this community. So, okay, moving on.
Okay.
Thank you very much. This will be noted in the minutes, and I'm going to follow up as the time passes and maybe some things get changed. We can bring it back to discussion. Procedure syntax is the next item on voting. If there are no comments, I would go straight to voting.
Okay, so should we do the same, like unconditional removal in 3.1?
Well, no, because here it's not like we're waiting for a replacement. Right?
I know, that's true.
There is no
no
replacement. The replacement is colon unit equal.
True.
Okay.
Let's go for it.
Okay.
Guillaume, you're first.
Right, so what are we voting on exactly?
So
Removing
procedure syntax.
removing procedure syntax.
In 3.0 or 3.1?
3.1 deprecate. I mean, and then deprecate as early as possible.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. So that's slightly different from the default behavior in .e right now, where it won't compile until you pass dash language Scala 2.
Okay.
But we could
So
make it compile,
3.0.
deprecate.
Yeah.
Well, which one?
3.0. I think it should be 3.
Remove it in 3.0. If it's deprecated before, then
we can
it's fine.
support it under.
I think isn't it already deprecated?
Yeah, I
Adrian or
think Eugene
Julian?
deprecated it into.
It's already deprecated, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes to removing it in 3.0.
Wait, Adrian, are you sure that it's formally deprecated in Scala 2?
I'm looking up the pull request now.
I think Eugene deprecated it.
Fortunately, don't have all this straight in my head, but
Don't you have a Scala 213 REPL?
I'm not getting a deprecation warning in the M5 REPL.
No, it's 213 M4. Deprecate procedure syntax without xfuture.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's pull request 6325.
Okay, just checking.
Or, in other words, I'm right.
That will go in the minutes too, I promise. Okay,
Yeah,
so we move forward.
that's
So 3-0 deprecating,
Yeah, yeah.
yes, removing, sorry, because it's already, yes.
Okay.
Then next,
Yes.
Seb.
I think you asked Seth before.
Seb,
Seb, me?
Yes.
Okay. I am for removing it.
Martin,
So
yes. Adrian,
Yes.
I guess yes.
Shouldn't we just do a show of hands?
Yeah,
of
but
everyone?
some people are with the
No,
photos,
it's
so.
Okay.
I should put a photo with the raised hand. then.
Yeah.
I'm in favor as well.
Be careful. We'll be voting on things you might not like.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm also in favor.
Okay, Seth, I guess yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Cool. So perfect. We unanimously agreed on 2 out of 3 voting, and this is quite exciting. Okay. The next item.
We've actually progressed today.
Actually removed something.
We've
from
actually
the-
removed something from Scala for the very first time.
Wow.
while trading
Let this
semicolon.
be a lesson for all who add stuff. Removal takes vote by committee.
Okay, so this is great. Moving to the final item, it's going to be it's agreeing about the new batch. Can you bring back just the? So we had the ETA expansion, auto application, and
Wait, before
sorry.
I'm just going to pitch in the.
Okay, we have a question
Sorry,
online.
I have been not the minutes. Some of the. So we've. We had someone who asked we vote to number the SIP, no question mark. I mean, after the fact, we're going to give them numbers now if they haven't numbers yet, but I think they do.
They might.
Or they might have a number, they might not, but in any case, that
So
was for.
does core get one number or multiple
I
numbers?
would vote for one number because
Me too.
it's going to be a lot of busy work
Oh,
to
yeah,
keep
yeah,
them separate. I would say at some point we need a spec for this whole thing, and that's probably a good thing to then essentially look at the spec and decide on the spec.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
And then, we had a comment, IntelliJ deprecates compiler, no, but so we had confirmation that the compiler does deprecate, but in 2.13. And then, sorry to disturb you again, for Scala 3, you have separate GitHub repo or the same one? I'm looking into the pull request of latest Scala features docs. So I'm not sure I understand the question. There are 4 repos total.
There's more than that.
There are, but so you have the Scala repo is Scala 2. Then you have lamppfl.e is .e the source code. Then for the docs, you have docs.scalalong, which is the website documentation for scalalong.org, which
And that's
also
the one you
acts
need to go to.
as Scala 2 docs, and which is the one that we were talking about earlier about the list of features that are in core.
Maybe you can make a
I'll try to text.
He's going to answer in the comments, so you can go straight there.
Someone posted it. Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Perfect. So coming to the 4th point, which is the next batch that we are going to open for discussions on the contributors. We eventually said, we previously said that auto application and ETA expansion is basically going to be one proposal. And so that's going to go up. Auto application already was discussed, but we are going to merge it and put it as one. And then the brand new one is going to be structural types and weak confluence. Maybe Martin wants to add something.
Have a comment on the auto application. So that was the one where we said we really need some action on the Scala 2 side. So Scala 2 and 3 needs to be synchronized on that. Otherwise, the gap would be too big for this one. So should we maybe wait with that until there is actually some action on the Scala 2 side? Because only then we can actually see whether this is feasible.
So I think Adrian opened an issue on that.
But I think before we voting, it would be good to actually have some implementation on the Scala 2 side on this one, because otherwise.
Yeah, so in any case, we're done for what we intended to vote on today, right?
Yeah, this is not voting. This is a new batch that we are going to propose.
Yeah, but I mean,
maybe you don't want to even propose.
So let's say, well, we propose. It comes. We discuss it for a month, and I would feel more confident to discuss it when actually there was already some implementation in Scala 2 underway or something.
Okay.
Because otherwise, it's probably I don't know. I mean, we can discuss it, but then if the Scala 2 implementation isn't coming, we'd have to sort of put it on ice and wait until it is coming.
Yeah, it's a bit of a waste of time looking from that perspective. Would you have any other to propose from the list to change?
What else is on the list?
So from that list, you're going to see here, this is already in batch 1, this is in batch 2. The blue ones are, we are proposing it right now. And then you can take any to exchange, any that is NN.
Right, what's the size of the batch?
Usually 4 to 5.
Okay, so if
we are not overwhelmed to go through.
And everyone needs like a chunk.
We wanted to
try not to talk to people at the same time because for the people online, it must be impossible to follow.
So what's happening right now? We are deciding on the next batch, which is going to be the 3rd batch. The one we proposed, Martin is against it with very good reasons. Batch is not something super serious, so we can really pick and choose which is going to be next. And we usually propose 4, maximum 5 features, because we give it a month for the community to discuss, and then the committee themselves need to summarize those and discuss them again. So anything more than 4 or 5 can be overwhelming, and that's where we are right now. And yes, do you have any you would like to propose?
Well, if you take var patterns, that's sort of a super easy one.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
That's a single character change.
Perfect. Let's do that.
Let's do that.
I mean,
I think we can do weak conformance.
I think one which we already started
there,
to discuss. But we.
Is it core?
No, sorry, no.
It is.
Okay.
I mean, one which is fairly self-contained would be like name type arguments if you want something.
Oh yeah.
For enums, we want to wait for the Java interrupt before proposing that.
Yeah.
And I think for multiversal equality, I want to wait for the general work on type class derivation, because this might have to do something with that. So I think.
Okay, so those are the 2, name type and I'm sorry because
name type arguments.
Name type arguments.
And
it's this one.
Yes, named. And then the first one you mentioned, the single
var pattern.
Okay. Okay, so that means we have 4. We have a new batch.
Okay.
Perfect. Now there is only one.
Voice the entire batch.
So the entire batch is going to be structural types, weak confluence.
Conformance.
Go for it.
Data expansion.
No.
Weak conformance is already core. Do we still want to discuss this?
Well, we're going to discuss the fine tuning, right?
Yeah, I mean they can. Yeah, it's.
This one is.
Really want to discuss.
Well, this one is kind of separate from everything else.
This is sort of the one thing where the amount of discussion.
I
think it's sort of in no
I
relation
know.
to each other.
I mean, it's,
but we as Scala Center we need to insist
Okay,
to discuss
Cool.
and not to do
So we had structural types, weak conformance, named type arguments, and var arg patterns. So that we will post on contributors in the coming days.
Yes. As soon as I get to it.
Okay.
So
don't hold your breath, but it's coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Obviously, the discussions should be faster than the minutes, but otherwise, yeah. So I would just like to conclude this meeting and say a couple of things I've been asked earlier. So going forward, we are going to keep on with batches, summarizing discussions, including those discussions in decisions, numbering, voting. So as it was before the November meeting. There was a question about what are we going to do with the SIP proposals for Scala 2, and the concrete question was, are we going to is there a waiting period that coincides with Dotty becoming Scala 3? And so after that, we would the SIP committee is going to go back to the proposals that are now lingering or opening.
Maybe to put it in more concrete terms, what do we do about SIPs that are coming from outside of the Dotty team?
Do we have?
We have two.
Okay. What are they?
One is I forgot now. I looked at them earlier today.
Is there the infix type arguments thing?
It's prefix type.
Prefix
type.
But that one matches what Dotty does. I think.
Yeah, to have the same precedence as normal infix things for infix types. Yeah. Okay.
And the other one was, do you remember? We looked at it together, but
yeah.
So we have two. Can you maybe look if you Google for Scala SIP, then it's on the list of all SIPs. View all SIPs. You can view all SIPs on the right. The green button.
Yeah.
So there was adding prefix types, and then allow referring to other arguments in default parameters.
That's also in Dotty, right?
No, that's not in Dotty.
So I think we should try and find some some wiggle room somewhere to discuss those, and not stall them for 1 more year and a half.
And what about opaque types?
Opaque types are...
Those are all the things actually that were discussed before.
So opaque types we've already started, kind of. Yeah. They are part of the lists that we consider for Scala 3, but also it's one of those where we hope to have a retroactive implementation in Scala 2.
We have a vote on that soonish, right?
Okay. We should actually, we can schedule a vote for that one in the next or the one after.
Okay, so next time we have the batch.
And opaque type. I mean, opaque types we discussed at length.
Yeah, we had 2 meetings that were really already very concrete.
So I also have a question online. When is the common 214x and 3.0 feature subset discussed, such as opaque types, trade parameters, etc.? So basically, we're not going to discuss the subset per se, because once we know what's in 3 and we also know what's in 2, by construction we get a subset. It's built. So we're not really going to discuss what's in the subset per se, but of course in the migration paths that we design for each features, we try to have always something in the middle. But if you want a simple answer, the simple answer is take what's in Scala 2, remove what's dropped in 3, and you've got your subsets.
So I guess the question is like, what features should be backported, or like there's some like we can guarantee that they're going to be backported at least for 214, like trade parameters, I guess.
I think it's I mean, we have, I think so far the kind of consensus is that we would try to backport trade parameters and opaque types.
That's my understanding as well, and that's reflected in the draft 214 roadmap, which we expect to publish in January.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, because like the syntax for var parameters, that could be backported too.
Oh yeah.
That'd be nice.
Yeah. That's right.
So maybe it's worth having a list.
And there's also the by name implicit arguments that are there, but they were basically
I think they were numbered,
and then they were numbered. I think it's a mistake that they're not numbered.
I've been trying to get the number out of Jorge for a while.
Yeah, that should get a number. Yeah.
Yeah.
Adding prefix.
So why isn't it automatic to make a new number when there's a new proposal?
Yeah,
We can discuss that offline. What do you think?
we could.
Are you going to shine the lights all Miss doing on my side publicly?
I mean, it's been a long time. In the beginning, we've always been wondering exactly when do we number a SIP. I think the answer
I think we're
was
not
like,
running out of numbers.
I think
No,
if I remember correctly, the original definition was if there is any chance at all that the SIP might accept it, then it should receive a number, period.
Yeah.
It was more a way to avoid like spam SIPs, like someone sending SIPs just for the pleasure of it and forcing us to use a bunch of valuable numbers, as Adrien would say, than to give any special status to better SIPs. Like it was never the intention.
And also, if you have a number, you know it's been discussed. If it's NN, it visually gives you.
I'd say it's better. I mean, we can have this discussion.
Yes, let's have that discussion. We need to dismiss people. Okay. So, yeah, this was an important discussion to have because many people are waiting on things because of DOTI, and which is fine. But at some point, it can be brought up, which is also great to know what to do about it going forward. And the final thing that I would like to say, mostly for the people that are watching now and the ones that are going to see this after, is that one document came out from our November meeting, which probably you're now reading as a PR and is going to be merged as minutes for November meeting. That is in the form of frequently asked questions. And I would also here like to underline that what is presented as answers are not definitive answers. It's what committee came up with and agreed about in intense, in length talks during the November meetings, and what the direction the SIP committee is taking, or the recommendations and such. So please don't take this frequently asked questions about Scala 3 as
immutable facts.
Immutable fact. Because it will be changed probably, and we are making the road as we are walking on it. And thank you everyone for making that road with us. That's really appreciated. I don't know if some more questions are coming. And with that, I would like to conclude today's meeting. Thank you everyone for joining. And
we're actually
not
only on time, but we finished ahead of time.
We did, and we voted on 3 things. And
unless we have final comments from the
Miles is like, no, I'm
not going to spoil it.
Thank you. That's also appreciated. Let's keep the record.
Excellent. Then see you next time.
See you next time. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for watching, following, and commenting. Let's take the conversation, Gitter or contributors, and see you in a month.
Bye-bye.
Bye.